Hello everyone, this is Hope Challenge podcast, and in today's episode we discuss something particular, something that we probably haven't discussed yet, and this is concerning addictions, concerning porn addiction. And why am I saying that's addiction? I know most of you have heard about this topic, have heard about warnings concerning this kind of issue, this kind of problem, but I'm here to talk about some personal experiences. Let me tell you briefly my story. My name is Ivan. Um, my native country is Bulgaria, and when I was a teenager, I struggled with drug addictions. I was addicted to heroin, to some other drugs, and this was a brief moment in my life. And thanks God that it was a brief moment, and that was because of His mercy, because I landed up in a place where I could hear the gospel, and that actually made me change my life, my perspective of life, and I stopped doing what I was doing. I changed my life. If it wasn't for that, I was still going to abuse drugs and do many other evil things. But thanks to him, my life had changed, and there have been many years. I repeat, that happened in my teenage years when I was a teenager, and many years I was clean. I'm still clean by God's grace, not by anything else. And that's not the only thing that God had done in my life. He's done many other wonderful things. But what am I saying about pornography? That there were many years that I was clean from drugs, but one day I stumbled into pornography. And that issue, I mean, I knew it was bad. I was even warning people. I was talking to people about that. Not too much because I haven't experienced it yet firsthand. When I was young, I had some experiences with it, but I never considered it as big issue because I was still young and I was also addicted to many other things. But why am I relating porn with addiction? Why am I talking to you about that? Why? Because as soon as I felt it, as soon as I stumbled into it, I felt the same rush of addiction, the same pull to come back to it, to use it again, as I felt with drug abuse, with drugs. And I related to it because I know very well what is to be addicted to something, even though there had been many years that I haven't done that. And yes, I didn't persevere into pornography. Thanks to God, He raised me up. I didn't stay there. It happened occasionally in my life, and that's why I decided to dive deeper into this kind of problem, this kind of issue, to warn other people. Thanks to him, I never persevered. It didn't happen to be a persistent habit in my life. But why? Because I was walking in God's word. I know that God helps us. I know that we all sin. We are all sinners. But He also helps us to rise from the ashes, to rise from it, and I I even went deeper into it, and I even started writing articles about that kind of addiction, and I relate to it as an addiction because I know very well what's an addiction, because all my life I've been working with drug addicts, because I volunteered in a center where I actually tried to assist those people that actually like me, because I was that way in my life, and I tried to assist them, to talk to them, and I know very well was that. And as soon as I stumbled into that, into into adult images and videos, I started to feel the same pull. And actually, studying this kind of issue, I discovered many things that actually it affects some parts of the brain that are affected also when using drugs. And it brings up the level of dopamine that your brain releases exactly as some drugs are doing. And that's why you could feel that pull, even though you realize that's something wrong. There will be always something pulling you again to do it. Same effect as drugs are doing in your life, and that's why we all need to be aware of it. We all need to be careful about it. And there are some statistics, and I'm not here to talk to you about statistics, but around 78% of men and 44% of women report watching pornography. And this is not just to see the statistics, but this is just to warn us. And these roughly estimations, there could be even more. And one of the largest adult websites reports 42 billion visits per year. And this is just to see to discuss about this kind of issue that has turned into pandemic. And we probably forgot the times when we had to hide doing it, or when it was difficult finding magazines or newspapers having that kind of images. Now is available to each one. And this has been for many years now, for the last 20 to 30 years, when the boom of internet happened. And I know some people may not consider it as a problem, as an issue, but from Christian perspective, if we want to be believers, if we want to follow God, we need to know that God had designed a perfect lifestyle for us, and He told us what is allowed, what not, and what is good and what not in His Word. He told us that just by lusting after a woman, we already have sinned in our hearts. This is what He tells us in Matthew chapter 5 verse 28, and this is to warn us. This is not something He said just to because He wanted to tell us what's right and what wrong. No, He tells us that not only because it is right, but also because He knows what is good for us. Why? Because He best knows how we are made, because He is our creator. So He doesn't want us to harm ourselves. That's why He calls certain things by name. He calls them sins. He doesn't want us to live that way. Obviously, none of us is perfect. None of us has reached perfection. But this is something we should aim to, something that we should pursue in our lives. And that's why I also wrote a book about this topic. I don't have a physical copy to show you that now, but it is called Healing and Recovering from Pornography. And even though I haven't experienced that firsthand, I never became an addict, a porn addict. Still, I stumbled into it, and then it happened again. I relate to it as an ex-drug addict, and that's why I wrote that from my own experience about what addictions are. And the only one who could help us about that, it's not just a theory, is our experience, but the one that mostly can help us is God. He can help us, He can free us, He can deliver us. And that's why I invite you to read this book, even though that's not a full guide. I'll be always learning about this issue. You always be learning from your mistakes, from your problems. But I invite you to have a look, and maybe it could partly help you, guide you, and I hope God can give you a hope, because if we are hopeless, if we feel that we stumble again and again into something, I can tell you that there is a hope. If we fight hard enough with God's help, if we seek His guidance, His practical guidance, and also the freedom He can give us, His healing in our lives, we could actually find a solution. And that's why I'm telling you to try out, to discover new ways, new hopes. And this is the pandemic of 21st century, and that's why we need to be careful about it, as any other addiction as well. Our culture has changed, it normalizes things, or people would say, okay, well, none of us is perfect, who are you to tell me and that's a problem? Well, statistics say, and experiences talk, and life talks, that there are many broken families falling apart, many people are being desperate because of that. And we need to consider, we need to fight this addiction as any other addiction, as any other issue. And as I said, God had established how we should live, how we should behave, because He best knows which is the best way, because He's our creator, and that's why we need to follow Him. We need to follow His word. None of us is perfect, okay? None of us could follow Him 100%, okay? One day we will reach perfection, but that will be, yes, at the end, in heaven. But now we're busy striving toward that perfection. A Christian believer is the one who aims toward perfection. He is not perfect, but that's his desire. The sanctification is something that should accompany us all our lives, throughout all our lives. And many people would not address this topic because they don't see themselves as perfect to talk to others, but none of us is. And okay, this in part is right attitude. If I see myself in mistake, I shouldn't be talking about something that I haven't actually sorted out in my own life. But from the other side, each one of us falls short in something. I'm not talking just about this kind of sin and issue, but about many others. But again, we always should express our opinion towards sin. A believer is not someone who stays there in sin. Even if he falls, he strives to walk away from it, to rise up with God's help. But still, he should be he should be expressing his opinion towards sin, to call sinful and wrong what it is, and not to conform with it. That's why we should address it. We should say it out loud that we want to resist it. We want to talk about this kind of issue, acknowledge it as a problem, because at the moment, in the beginning, when an addiction habit starts forming in our lives, we don't actually acknowledge it as one, we don't actually see it as one. But when we go further on, we see the pain it produces, we see the issues, the effect on other people. And then yes, we acknowledge how hard it is, how tough it is. But I don't want that to be late for us. But even if it's late, even if we're too deep into an issue, we need to recover. And yeah, God is telling us not to last even in our hearts after another woman, and that's a sin. But okay, none of us is perfect. But one thing is to see a woman and to lust after her, and another thing is to see an actual sexual act, and we're not meant to discover sexual pleasures that way. Why? Because sexual act, sexual relationship is something so intimate that God had prepared that to happen between man and woman, between husband and wife, amongst them, and not to be explicitly seen by others. And when other people engage in that, it happens in the wrong way. Why? Because we're not meant to enjoy sex, sexual acts that way, but differently. The way God had prepared it, the way God had established it. He is not God who wants to avoid us, to prohibit pleasures in our lives. No, He just wants us to have them in the right way. So that's why I invite you in this episode of the podcast to examine your lives, as I need to examine my life. None of us is perfect, but we need to strive toward perfection. I mean, toward what God says in His Word, and to acknowledge our problems, our issue, um, what makes us to backslide. And that's why I spoke to you from personal experience. And yeah, you could find the link to my book in the description. And I hope we all, with God's help, could find a solution for what is pulling us backwards, for what is not letting us go ahead and enjoy life properly in His way. Thank you for watching, and subscribe if you want to receive more videos concerning biblical topics and culture. Thank you.